I am happy to join with you today in what will go down in history as the greatest demonstration for freedom in the history of our nation. Five score years ago, a great American in whose symbolic shadow we stand today signed the Emancipation Proclamation. This momentous decree came as a great beacon light of hope to millions of Negro slaves who had been seared in the flames of withering injustice. It came as a joyous daybreak to end the long night of their captivity. But 100 years later,
not have problems. Happy and equal. Happiness.
100 years later, the life of the Negro is still sadly crippled by the manacles of segregation and the chains of discrimination. 100 years later, the Negro lives on a lonely island of poverty in the midst of a vast ocean of material prosperity. 100 years later, the Negro is still languished in the corners of American society and finds himself in exile in his own land.
Taking care of people, having fun, and be respectful.
In a sense, we've come to our nation's capital to cash a check. When the architects of our republic wrote the magnificent words of the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, they were signing a promissory note to which every American was to fall heir. This note was a promise that all men, yes, black men as well as white men, would be guaranteed the unalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It is obvious today that America has defaulted on this promissory note insofar as her citizens of color.
Peace to me means people coming together and just spending good time together. People liking other people and people not hating.
Peace to me means no fighting, no violence, just to be happy and joyful.
Loving and caring.
Peace to me means everybody likes each other no matter how they act.
But we refuse to believe that the Bank of Justice is bankrupt. We refuse to believe that there are insufficient...
Happy.
Everyone getting along. That's what it means to me. Friends and families, cookies, and that flag, and everything in the world, and the rainbow lights, and all the colors in the world, and that flag, and friends and family, and the floor, and earth, and oxygen, and pushing us. America.
To remind America of the fierce urgency of now. This is no time to engage in the luxury of cooling off or to take the tranquilizing drug of gradualism. Now is the time to make real the promises of democracy. Now is the time to rise from the dark and desolate valley of segregation to the sunlit path of racial justice. Now is the time to lift our nation from the quicksands of racial injustice to the solid rock of brotherhood, now is the time to make justice a reality for all of God's children. It would be